started. Good morning, good afternoon. By the time that we end up getting kicked off here or finished here, let me quickly say good afternoon to everyone. We're delighted that you've taken the time to be with us today. I want to welcome you to this webinar. My name's King Banerjee. This is a topic of tremendous interest to me, as I'm also a small business owner. I own Big Frog Custom T-shirts and more here in Sugar Land, and I'm this year's chair for the Business and Professional Division for the Fort Bend Chamber of Commerce. We're pleased to bring you all this new program, Get Hired. Get Hired is going to offer employers hiring incentives to attract employees and encourage those individuals to stay hired by paying incentives after 90 days of continuous employment. And our speakers are here to give us some more information about this program. I am so incredibly honored to introduce two of our panelists now, and we'll introduce some more as we get going. But first, let me introduce Spurgeon Robinson. Spurgeon is the founder, he's the president and chief executive officer of Impact Strategic Consulting, LLC, or Impact Construction Services as well. Mr. Robinson leads one of the fastest growing consulting and advisory services firms, and he's considered an innovator and leader in program management, strategy, compliance, and emergency management. He has broad and diverse experiences across multiple industries in both the public and private sector. He specializes in helping organizations maximize results and expectations through bold and innovative ideas and implementations. He thrives on figuring out what is not only possible, but what is achievable. Mr. Robinson leads a team at Impact that embraces tackling their clients' toughest challenges and delivering solutions that lead to impactful results. Next, let me also make my introduction to Ed Sturdivant. Ed is the auditor for the Fort Bend County. The mission of the county auditor is to independently oversee all county offices to ensure that the compliance and state law and county policies are met. He aggressively administers a program of internal auditing to provide the county with a very high level of confidence that county assets are safeguarded to the highest reasonable degree. As the official keeper of accounts for the county, he designs and administers the record-keeping system for all the county and maintains the highest standard of care to ensure the integrity of all accounting records and reports. So without further ado, let me actually kick this off and introduce Ed. Ed?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for showing up today. We're hoping that you will be as excited as we are about this rollout. Let me say that King made me sound a lot more important than I think I am. But all kidding aside, we've had a rough year and a half collectively, and especially here in Fort Bend County. What we've enjoyed, though, is we've enjoyed a very generous commissioner's court, federal government. We got kicked off with funding from the U.S. Treasury last year in April, receiving a large allocation from the CARES Act. And over the year, our Commissioner's Court allocated $50 million of that allocation. And between the month of June 2020 and March of 2021, we fully exhausted that, placing those funds in the hands of our local businesses who've been most impacted. Also, the county has been fortunate enough to receive an allocation from the American Rescue Plan Act. And that's an allocation that is going to carry us through December 31, 2024. Initially, the court has made a direct allocation of $25 million from that allocation from the U.S. Treasury. So I'm gonna suggest that you look at what I just shared with you. $50 million was spent between the month of June 2020 and March of 2021 with direct payments to small businesses. Since we've kicked off I think we rolled out the new program with the $25 million allocation in May of this year. And from May through today, we've only pushed out $3 million of those funds. Now, that's not because we're holding it back. It's just because our businesses have started to recover from the impacts of the pandemic. And for those of you on this call who haven't, please, if you want to apply for our small business grant program, different from what we're presenting today, please go to the county website It's still open through the end of this calendar year. Funds are still available. Take advantage. The court wants you to use those. So in light of the fact that we haven't been spending at the rate or placing those funds in the hands of the businesses at the rate that we had previously, we kind of challenged ourselves, and thankfully with the leadership of our Fort Bend Economic Development Council and our chambers that are represented on this slide, as well as the other chambers that aren't, they came up with a program and a plan that we were able to bring Spurgeon's team in, Impact Strategic Consulting, and identify a major need. And that major need was the lack of applicants, employees coming to your businesses so that you could fully reopen. So we came up with a proposal, presented it to Commissioner's Court. I won't get into the details since the Impact team, they're going to get into the details. But now you have an opportunity to incentivize qualified candidates to apply with your businesses and retain them with the criteria set out by this program. And we're going to cover that fully, including the cost to your business. So with that, I'm going to let Spurgeon introduce his team, as well as share a few opening comments. But again, please take advantage of this opportunity. And I'll make one more note. This is for small businesses that Brittany and Phyllis will find for you, and nonprofits. So, and nonprofit is a 501c3 and fully includes our faith-based nonprofits that are also 501c3s. So with that, Spurgeon.
Great. I'm sorry. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Thank you. All right. I apologize. I think I was speaking over Ed earlier. Thank you, Ed, for this opportunity, and Fort Bend County Chambers and EDCs. Our team has been engaged with Fort Bend County to bring out this new program, which we think is really focused on increasing the opportunity for employees and employers to get workers back into the workforce and incentivize them in a way that they will not only benefit from the financial reward, but also find long-term stability in their employment search. Introduced two individuals, although Ed and I are always the speakers. We're featuring Brittany Compton and Phyllis Filsaime. They will actually provide the details of this program. Brittany is the project manager for our small business program. So those of you may be familiar with the grant program that Ed mentioned earlier, these individuals also lead that program, as well as the ability to, they're going to lead this one as well. And as a familiar face, they will provide you the details. And this, what we believe, is a very simple and straightforward application process that will lead to great results for not only your new employees, but also sustaining and assist with the reopening of your businesses. So with that, let the Brittany Compton start. She is once again the project manager for our small business program at Impact. Thank you. You're still muted, Brittany.
Ricky. Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Brittany Compton. I'd like to thank everyone for being here, and we hope that it's informative. And to respect everyone's time, we ask that you use the chat features, and we'll address all questions at the conclusion of the presentation. You can go to the next. There we go. The Small Business Employment Incentive Program encourages individuals to apply for open jobs within Fort Bend County. It rewards them for continuous employment with a financial incentive after 90 days of employment. We intend for this program to help businesses attract and retain good employees so they can reopen and remain open and fully staffed. Also, it assists new employees with additional funds for their commitment and high performance. Next slide, please. For application, you can find it on the coronavirus fortbend.gov website. Then you click on the economic recovery, then select incentive program. The application is short and you can upload all documentation once you complete it, and a case manager will get back with you. The program is open as of September 8, 2021. The application will remain open to the end of the year, December 31st, 2020. And we encourage all questions or concerns to be forwarded to the FBC Get Hired at impact-consulting.com. This will provide the fastest response, and we'll have a person reply to you within 24 to 48 hours. Our customer service rep will be available at the number shown on the screen if you would like to speak to anyone. For small business eligibility, small businesses and nonprofit organizations must be headquartered and generating revenue in Fort Bend County. Revenue for nonprofits can be donations, tithes, offerings, etc. Businesses and nonprofits must be operational as of December 31st, 2020. Revenue requirements for those registered are between $25,000 and $5 million. This information will be based on your gross sales and receipts reported on the business tax return. Businesses and organizations must have at least one employee and no more than 50 employees. The required documentation once the employer completes the application will be a valid government issued ID that is not expired, certificate of good standing, franchise tax status, if applicable, 501c3 designation, if applicable, formation documentation, whether it be LLC or DBA, etc. Your 2020 business tax return in the form of 1065, Form 1120S, or 1040, including the Schedule C for the business, or Form 990 for nonprofits. The entire tax return must be provided, and the tax return must be signed and must provide a Form 8879 to confirm the e-file signature. If it is an amended tax return, employers can provide an IRS tax return transcript. Last but not least, we'll need a signed and dated W-9 with sections 1 through 3 completed. The funds will be mailed to this address provided on that W and addressed to the business name. I'll hand it over to our team lead, Phyllis, and she will go into detail about employee eligibility and required documentation.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Phyllis. I'm the team lead over the Employment Incentive Program. I will be going over the employee eligibility requirements first. And so the applicants are required to complete the interview process and accept an offer of employment. And in addition, they're required to work 20 hours per week. And that's an average over the 90-day period. And so an employee must be in good standing and they must complete the 90 calendar days in order to be eligible to receive the incentive. And what good standing means is they have to still be employed at the 90-day mark in order to receive this. So the total compensation for the employee cannot exceed $25 per hour or $50,000 annually. And if the applicant is not hired or doesn't complete the requirements of continuous employment, no incentive will be paid, okay? And so the next thing we'll go into is the 3 tiers. So at level 1, the employee can receive up to $30,000 or up to $15 per hour. The incentive amount for that tier is $500 and the administrative fee is $50. For level 2, that encompasses the $30.01 up to $40,000 and the incentive is $750 and the administrative fee is $75. And the last tier is $40.01 thousand up to $50,000, and on an hourly rate, that's in between $20.01 up to $25 per hour. The employee incentive amount is $1,000 and the administrative fee is $100. The administrative fee covers miscellaneous duties related to the grant application and processing from the employer. Okay. And so next, we have the requirement documentation to receive the incentive. So the employer is required to document the employee's government issued ID. And they must provide proof of payment that they paid the employee via payroll for 90 days. And they must complete a certificate of use funds. That form just states that the employer will pay the incentive funds directly to the employee. And if they don't, that they may have to repay the funds to Fort Bend County in the recapture process. A new hire form is also required. This form just notates the employee's personnel information, such as their identification, their address, and the employer in which they're connected to, okay? So the required documentation in order to keep the incentive once it's issued to you. The employer has to provide proof that the incentive was paid within 30 days of receipt. So for example, if today is September 10th, the employer would need to pay out the incentive to the employee by October 10th. And so this proof can be provided in a way of a payroll ledger, or you can provide 3 months of paycheck stubs. Both of these items require bank statements, and that just ensures that we see the money coming out of the bank account into the employee's paycheck. And you can also provide front and back copies of the check that you wrote out to the employee from the bank. Okay, and so after the incentive is paid, that's once it's paid and we have proof that it was paid out to the employee, at that point, the incentive is considered complete and forgiven. Like, you will not have to repay it back once we confirm all that information. Okay, and then additional program information. The expectation is that the business will remain fully operational in Fort Bend County through December 31st, 2024. That funds received from Fort Bend County are paid out within 30 days of receipt of the funds. And so if the funds do not have the proper supporting documentation, such as the bank statements or the copies of the check that it was paid to the employee, the funds are required to be repaid to Fort Bend County through the recapture process. And so another consideration is that we're requiring that you maintain all documentation and records for up to 5 years for audits and reviews. And in short, that's the summary of the program. And so if anyone, I'll pass it back over to King so he can address any possible questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Phyllis. Okay. So there are, let's see, let me start by, I think one question asked by Ali on the chat that I see here is, can we pay the employee from our funds after 90 days, then submit the paperwork to the county and get reimbursed, rather than wait for submitting a request to the county first and then awaiting approval?
This is Ed. That is acceptable. We just didn't want to put the businesses in a position if there's a cash flow issue, because basically what we're doing is giving an additional stipend over the standard salary paid to that individual. And from a budget perspective, we didn't want to impose on the business's finances. So yes, if you can do that, then all you would do is you would also provide everything that Phyllis described, but you would also provide the confirmation of payment to the employee when you submit for your reimbursement request. And again, we will be providing you with a 10% administrative fee to cover the employer's cost of that transaction.
Outstanding. As questions roll in here, I want to make it a point to state how important this entire initiative is, and the value it is to small business owners, owners like myself. One question I have for you folks is, what about employees that we currently have? Is there any incentive for retaining those? Let me just kind of leave that open-ended.
I'm going to let Brittnee and Spurgeon talk to that.
Yeah. So where the program is designed right now, it's really for new employees. So these will be people that are effective as even today or time you submit your application. would be eligible for this incentive program. It does not address those who are already employed, but definitely those that are new employees to get them back into the workforce.
Got it. And so as new employees, and basically this is something that new employees between now and the end of the year, did I understand that correctly?
Yes, through right now, we have the program open until December 31 of 2021.
Okay.
And of note, we would like to fully exhaust the allocation provided by the Commissioner's Court in advance of that, so we can go back and ask for additional stimulation for this program. So we need your participation and your exploitation of this program within the requirements set out.
Okay. And when does this become available again? What's the effective date again, Ed, did you say?
Immediately.
Immediately.
Yes.
Okay.
So the first process, and Phyllis talked about it, we need to get the businesses registered. And we'll do actually, Brittany and Phyllis's team will do the screening of eligibility. So we'll have the businesses all set up, and then the onboarding process of new candidates. Hopefully with this program, they can promote more candidates applying for the jobs that they're trying to fill. But after they're registered and ready to go, there's nothing delay. There's nothing to delay. Please proceed. And the site is open. Registration, we've simplified it as much as we can so that you can get out of the gate with getting your staff back to full level.
Okay. Let me ask some more here from our chat. Do you see a risk on employees switching jobs every 3 to 4 months to keep collecting this incentive, or employees that we currently have leaving to collect this incentive?
We thought about that, and what we feel is that the businesses know how to manage their operation for the best interest of their business and their customers, their clients. So with that being said, if an employee were only doing this for this purpose, it was our opinion, and we talked about this too, it was our opinion that an employee that was only riding it out to then switch likely would not be an employee that would get a favorable recommendation or would have a high level of performance in the business, because he or she would be riding it out just to accomplish getting that 500, 750, or 1,000. If you as businesses find that we were incorrect with that assessment, please let us know.
In addition to that, with safeguards, we will have a list of the employees that are being provided the incentive. So if we do see what we call job flipping, per se, I'll use that term, we'll be able to restrict that person from future awards because of the incentive. But we don't think that the incentive provides incentive to actually move job to job. It hopefully just provides an incentive for you to stay and be productive at the job you're on.
Yeah, I actually think that's well thought through, you guys. Thank you, because that makes sense, both on the incentive as well as the tracking capabilities that you all will have. Very, very cool. Let me, as I'm getting it through different mediums here, any limit to the number of incentives that an employee can offer?
The employer will offer one incentive per eligible employee, but the limit for that employer, if they're between 1 and 50 employees, that's their limit, is their entire employment level. And for employers who have current staff, so let's just use an employer that has a staff of 30, and there is turnover over the next, let's say, just through the end of the year. If turnover is increased, we're not saying you're limited to 50 stipends or supplements to your employee, the incentive payments. If your turnover is sufficient to demonstrate that you go above that, The only qualification is that newly hired, stay 90 days, 20 hours a week on average. And again, Spurgeon said, we'll be monitoring the job flippers, those frequent flyers that move from business to business. They're going to catch them. And we'll put a halt to that, obviously keeping the business informed in advance.
Okay. So I have somebody here. They have 3 employees starting next week. Can they get this incentive even though they have not applied to the program yet? Yeah, because it's available as of today,
Yes.
right? So basically, I think that's the answer today. Interesting. Can you help with identifying or finding new employees? That's a good question.
We don't have the resources to do that with Fort Bend County or the consulting team, Impact Strategic Consulting, but maybe our economic development or our chambers, our Fort Bend Chamber, or Fort Bend EDC. Do you guys have anything to add for that? I don't know what to recommend. I mean, the only thing I will say is there's a bit of a, not a carrot, but a stick coming. As you all are aware, or if you're not, I'm going to maybe give you some bad news, or at least employees some bad news. TWC and the extended unemployment benefit, which is the 18-month benefit, ends tomorrow. And that was an increase since the pandemic from a 6 unemployment period to 18 months. And back in June, the $300 additional supplement for unemployment was taken away. So therefore, these folks who are out there that have been able to make it might not have the ability to do so. So it's our hope that rather than waiting for them to be in crisis and rolling on to some of our other programs, meaning our public assistance programs, that we can get them in front of you, and hopefully those things happening with this additional incentive will bring those candidates to your doors. So with that, chambers, do you guys have any recommendation on finding employees, targeting employees, candidates?
I saw Rochelle put something in the chat box. You want to speak to that?
Yeah, Ed, I would just recommend Workforce Solutions as a potential group. They locate interns, they pay for upskilling and training of that nature. So sometimes they have some resources that people might want to reach out to.
Thank you, Rochelle.
Sorry about that. I dropped the connection for a second, but I'm back now. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can.
Okay, super. And I don't know if my chamber friends had jumped on or not to talk a little bit about some of the facilities available through us. I will make a quick comment. I mean, the chamber itself is, I like to think of it as a friend once told me, kind of the LinkedIn of the local community. So whether you're an employer or a potential employee, they're an incredible connector. It is an incredible source of folks, small but mighty, I like to call them. If there is assistance needed for connecting. I can't express the capabilities of Carrie and her team more. I don't know if anybody wants to tap into that, but that is something that I just want to make mention of. And I know you mentioned the EDC as well, Ed.
Yep. And Rochelle, while you were off, Rochelle popped in and mentioned Workforce Solutions as a great resource.
That's great. Yeah, that's a great one as well. Thank you for that. Okay, let me jump on here. Okay, we talked about any limit to the number of incentives, and it sounds like it was up to 50. Talk a little bit about that. That was another question that came in. Learn more. Oh, will new employees need to live in Fort Bend?
No, they will not. The business needs to be located in Fort Bend. but the employees can come from as far as they're willing to travel from.
That's awesome. Okay.
But it's important that the business is located in Fort Bend County, but not the employees. It's correct. Just but the business has to be located in Fort Bend County.
Yeah. Okay. That was one of the questions, obviously. So the answer there is it does need to be registered in Fort Bend County to participate, or does it need to be located and registered, or
located is the primary criteria. If their business is registered with another clerk's office, still their physical location is going to be Fort Bend. The goal here is to address businesses needing help in Fort Bend County, and that's why the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act allocation was provided to the county, is so that it could assist the businesses and individuals that were in crisis within its jurisdiction. So located.
okay. There was a comment by somebody talking about actually it was already put in the chat to everybody, a good one here, about the small business community. The UH Texas Gulf Coast SBDC network offers free one-to-one professional business advising services to business owners. Okay, there are comments, just so you folks know, about current employees, but we've kind of addressed that as well. So I'm gonna
And for the businesses that are on today, as well as the ones who'll be looking at this webinar later, if you start to see issues with that, you can bring them to our attention. And there's an email address on the slide deck that you can reach out to, and whatever it is that's causing you concern with our program, if it's retention of your current employees because they're not getting it, if it's a morale issue, just let us know. And if we've missed something, then we can put forward a new proposal to Commissioner Court. So just keep us informed of what's going on.
Excellent. Here's a good one. Is the processing fee, is that deducted from the fund that the employee will receive? That's something that the employer is liable for, right?
Well, processing fee, I'm not sure what that's referring to.
There's an admin fee, right?
Yeah, it's the admin fee for Ed that they're referring to, the 10% that they're getting on top of the employee incentive. So
that's right.
So just to use an easy one, $500, we're going to give an extra $50
right.
to the employer. So although we're not promoting it as this, but obviously the employer has tax burden and maybe other benefits. Maybe it's the staff that administers the payroll process. We were trying to accommodate that with this 10% because we don't want to put a financial burden on the employers to help us administer the paying process for this program. So that is, we're going to give you 10% over the stipend or the employee incentive payment that we're going to provide you that you will be providing to your employee. So again, $500, $750,000 goes to the employee, and you get 10% on top of that for the expenses you incur.
Okay. Let me ask you guys this: if we submit our application, will we receive notice from the county that we're approved, or what's the process there?
Okay, I'll chime in on this question. This is Phyllis. On this, if you submit your application, will you receive notice? So once you submit your application, it will be assigned to a case manager. At that point, we will go through the approval process and make sure you meet all the specified requirements. Once we determine that you are eligible, you will receive a notice as well as next steps via email from your case manager.
And Phyllis, what do you estimate the time frame, assuming everything is submitted and the case manager just has to review that everything's in good order. What would you say the time frame for a case manager to review a submission would be? And also with an understanding that you don't know what your volume is going to be yet.
So I probably say contingent on the volume, either 2 to 4 business days, or ideally I would probably say 3 to 5 business days, just because we don't know the volume.
So hopefully for everyone's benefit, as well as today, as well as those that'll look at this later, there's a goal to fast track this process. And Spurgeon has made sure that sufficient resources were provided to Brittney and Phyllis so that they could accomplish this quick turnaround. The goal is to make this a very positive program so that you can hire good qualified candidates and retain them.
That's really encouraging, you guys. Thank you for that. Okay. Does the employee, do they need to be a U.S. citizen, or as long as they're legally allowed to work in the U.S.? Is that sufficient? What's the criteria there?
Legally allowed to work in the U.S. We're not going to question or get involved with the responsibilities of the employer and how they onboard employees. Obviously, following employment law, and that's Fair Labor Standards Act, as long as they're complying with those processes, everything is fine. We're not going to get in your business with relation to your HR and payroll process. We just need documentation to support the incentive payment and the admin fee that we'll provide to you.
One of the questions I think administratively is, are all attendees muted? And yeah, the answer is yes. So if you have any questions, we do ask that you put them in the chat box here on the Zoom or via Facebook Live. And I think we talked a little bit about this before, but I think it's good to readdress. Can we pay the employee from our funds after 90 days, then submit the paperwork?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we just didn't want to impose that responsibility on the employer if it didn't fit within their current budget. And if for us to provide the funding and then they remit the payment to the employee. But I understand why this question's out there. Obviously, as soon as the employee hits 90 days, you want to reward them.
Yep.
So rather than having to wait for us to provide the funds to you, if you want to go ahead and move on that, we will have already gone through the process of registering your business, the onboarding process. You don't have to wait to submit your information to our case management team. So as we're moving along, if there are any deficiencies working with our case management team, they'll let you know. And if all that has to happen at the end of that term is to provide proof of payment and that last paycheck that shows they completed 90 days, we're good.
Excellent. Excellent. Okay.
King, I wanted to chime in really quickly.
Please.
Just add on to what Ed said, as far as paying them prior to the funds being issued. Once you receive my suggestion would be to issue those funds after you receive approval that you are approved for the program. So not prior to that, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And that's the registration process that's first. And that's the process that Phyllis elaborated very fast. Just look at what the requirements are again. I know Phyllis ran through them and it's tough to digest it all. The website tells the tale just like Phyllis laid out. All of those requirements, and it'll be quick. The registration process and confirmation of you being onboarded into our program will be quick.
Yeah, I'll make another quick comment. I mean, I think this is pretty, to say revolutionary is probably a little bit bold, but given everything that we've been through the past 2 years, all of this is doing and pretty exciting. I do, obviously, aside from being a small business owner myself, having friends in the community and the challenges that have gone with, frankly, I mean, finding staff and getting staff onboarded, this is a great incentive. And for those that are attending today, if there are additional questions, please post them here. If there are questions out after, I would encourage you to, send us an email through the impact. I think is probably the best way for that to be sent. Would you agree, Spurgeon? Is that the best way to have those addressed?
Yes, that's correct.
And the contact information for the email there?
Yes, it's on the web. Brittnee, you probably know it top of your head, or Phyllis. If you
Yes, FBC Get Hired at impact-consulting.com. And that phone number will be on the website as well too. All of that will be listed.
Okay,
I just dropped it inside of the chat.
That's fantastic. Thank you, Phyllis. That's great. Let me a couple more questions as we kind of roll in. To clarify, that the incentive itself is an incentive, right? It's not something that we can be used in lieu of payroll.
Correct. It's an incentive payment directly to a newly hired employee who completes 90 days of service at an average of 20 hours or more a week.
Got it.
And I wanted to add, if somebody did have some challenges with meeting payroll, there still is the small business grant program they could take a look at.
Yes, please. It's on our website. The scrolling pages, if you go to www.fortbendcountytx.gov, I'll put that in the chat as well. You'll see all of our programs there. If you think you need help in any of those areas, please take advantage.
What else do I have here, you guys? Would you know what? This is actually an interesting one. Would this apply to remote workers that work for the Fort Bend business? So in this case, the employee may be outside of Fort Bend County, is the way that I'm interpreting this, right?
We did not exclude the method that the employee is engaged for their responsibilities. The whole part of this is getting people to serve your business, serve your customers, your clients. However you accomplish that, that's your business. Again, the business just needs to be located in Fort Bend County. The employee needs to be newly hired at this point, and they need to complete, I know I'm being repetitive, but I just want to make sure everyone understands that it's that simple. They just need to accomplish those few tasks. There is documentation requirements that Phyllis went through, but we tried not to make this overly complicated or restricted. The goal is to help you get your business back up to full operation.
Let's see. I think one of the common themes, and I'll just leave this as a comment, I think is coming through, is consider extending this to current employees as well. I see that a few times, and I think it's more from just the perspective of wanting to not necessarily compare between the two, but offer existing employees an incentive as well. And I think that's something that I'm seeing a few comments on, and I'll just make comment to that. But I think the goal of this is really, if I'm not mistaken, to launch in terms of helping drive new hires into our community now.
It is. And King, we looked at this because what we have to do is we still have to stay true to the requirements of the American Rescue Plan Act. And some of the criteria for eligibility included hiring people, promoting employment, and promoting retention of employment. And when we started talking about current employees, we got a little bit outside of that. So we can look at other areas of the act that could be used as an eligible allocation for, but we didn't want to delay this rollout while we look at that as well. because we got this one all teed up and it's ready. And as we move forward, we will continue to look at the current employees and what we can do for them.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody can ask anymore. Honestly, this is as I voiced before, it's a much needed, incredible program. I know many of my business owner peers have struggled with finding new employees, and this is a tremendous incentive that should be explored by each and every one of them. Is there anything, I mean, as we kind of look at this, I mean, right now the application window closes on Friday, December 31st. And that's, you know, we'll kind of go from there. Anything else that you folks kind of want to close on?
Just that if you have a need, please exploit this. Our Commissioner's Court has been extremely generous, and I'm certain that if we burn through this fast, there will be additional funds provided. So whether it's expanding this program beyond December of 2021 or pushing something in for the current employees or a mix thereof, we need you to exploit it before we can enjoy that additional allocation to keep us moving. And again, the small business grant program is still open and available. And we also have a nonprofit assistance program currently on our website. Again, go to the www.fortbendcountytx.gov. Please take advantage based on your circumstances of everything we have available. And we'll help you avoid the overlap, because we have to make sure that we're not duplicating benefits within our programs, but we'll guide you through that. So if you're eligible for any other program as well as this one, please take advantage. Our court has been extremely generous. And we feel that our Commissioner's Court is ahead of the game. And I sit on a meeting every Monday with our Government Finance Officers Association out of DC, and the number of local governments and state governments across this nation who haven't even started to use their allocations from the American Rescue Plan Act is tremendous. Our court didn't wait. They got out of the gate with it as soon as the funds became available, established a budget, prioritization, and guess who was the group at the top of the list? One of the groups, our small businesses. Take advantage of that generosity, please.
That is I tell you, as a small business owner, and again, Ed, I can't echo that enough. I can't thank you enough for all of the work, Spurgeon, that you and your team have done. Brittney, Phyllis, Rochelle, thank you for explaining this program to us, as you have other programs in the past, and the benefit to us as small business owners cannot be appreciated enough. Aside from what you folks do professionally, thank you so much for your service. So Spurgeon, Ed, thank you for your time and insights. Brittney, Phyllis, thank you so much as well for getting this information out to the community. For all those of you attending today, thank you as well. A recording of this webinar will be emailed to you shortly. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and close up and ask you all to enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Take care.
As well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.